Thank you. This is Leon Sanchez, and first I want to thank for letting me actually come into line as I was late because we just finished our statement. This is the co-chair's statement from the cross-community working group on enhancing ICANN's accountability for the Dublin meeting, ICANN54. And members and participants of the cross-community working group on enhancing ICANN accountability met in Dublin, Ireland from the 16th to 22nd of October 2015 at ICANN54. Over the past 7 days, the CCWG Accountability has held more than 25 hours of formal meetings, with additional discussions taking place in various SOAC-led sessions, in the hallways and oftentimes over meals and drinks. After some voiced concerns with the speed of progress leading into Dublin, we, the co-chairs, called on the community for full mobilization and reinvigorated dedication to making measurable progress over the week in Dublin. We are extremely pleased to announce that the community tackled this challenge head-on and succeeded. In what the group has coined an environment of collaboration, CCWG accountability members, participants, ICANN board directors, external advisors, legal counsel, and interested observers came together to identify outstanding issues in the second draft report and move towards consensus on solutions. A summary of key decisions and agreed upon next steps are outlined below. On the sole designator as reference model for enforcement, the group reached broad agreement to move forward with the sole designator as the new reference enforcement model for the next draft proposal. The group will next attempt to finalize patching the model to alleviate any outstanding concerns on their next draft proposal. Decision-making model, the group begun defining a consensus-based decision-making model, which includes a community consultation period. Discussions on the topic were informed by concerns raised in the public comment on the second draft report about unintended concentration of power. On the independent review process, the group confirmed support for the proposed IRP enhancements and is now moving into the implementation phase. To spearhead this phase, a drafting subgroup with expert support will be constructed to develop and draft bylaws and detail operating procedures. On the community power that refers to review and reject of the budget and operating plan, the group has identified a balanced process and approach for the one-year operating plan and budget, which was an outstanding item coming into Dublin. On the community power of recalling individual board directors, the group confirmed a decision method for removal of a director appointed by the nominating committee and a separate decision method for removal of a director appointed by an advisory committee or supporting organization. In the mission and core values, the group confirmed its support for a clarification of the mission statement and articulation of the commitments and core values. An example of a clarification includes ICANN's ability to enforce agreements with contracted parties subject to reasonable checks and balances. On human rights, the group reached consensus to include a general human rights commitment into the bylaws. However, further work is needed on language and has been tasked to the Human Rights Working Party. On the incorporation of affirmation of commitments into the bylaws, the group finalized outstanding details of the incorporation of the AOC review into the bylaws. There is high confidence that these bylaws are nearly ready for consideration in terms of implementation. As regard to Workstream 2, the group adopted a focused list of Workstream 2 items with an emphasis on transparency requirements. There was also broad agreement to bring some of these transparency requirements into Workstream 1 in consideration of the discussions around the sole designator enforcement model. In regard to the timeline and next steps, the CCWG Accountability has had intensive discussions on the group's work plan, anticipated progress, and next steps towards finalization. As such, the group has adjusted its timeline in a manner that attempts to balance the various timeline constraints, both inside and outside of the community. While details are still being solidified, the timeline is rigorous and will likely keep the CCWG Accountability busy through the winter season. However, the co-chairs, members and participants of the CCWG Accountability understand the importance of and will execute an inclusive, open, and bottom-up process. The current timeline proposes posting a high-level overview of recommendations and a summary of changes from the second draft proposal for a 35-day public comment period on 15 November 2015. Alongside the 35-day public comment, the CCWG Accountability will submit these resources to the charter organizations for initial feedback. The CCWG Accountability plans to issue a full, detailed report, including annexes and in-depth documentation, midway into the public comment period for roughly 20 days of consultation. After a synthesis of the comments received and assuming no major changes, the group currently projects submission of Workstream 1 recommendations to the ICANN board in late January 2016. We sincerely thank the community for their dedication to our unprecedented goal. We'd like to give special recognition to the GAC, ALAC, ASO, and SSAC for their comments and on our proposal while in Dublin. In addition, we are grateful to the volunteers, support staff, advisors, and independent counsel who put in a tremendous effort this past week. They deserve and have earned the community's greatest respect and the deepest recognition. The CCWG Accountability Co Chairs, Thomas Rickert, Leon Sanchez, and Matthew Bale.